I woke up late on a Tuesday, already dreading the day. My coffee spilled, and somehow my socks didn't match. On my way to work, a bakery truck collided with me diesel, and cinnamon filled my senses. When I opened my eyes, the sky had two suns glaring like rivals. A purple sheep stared at me, judging every life choice I'd ever made. Suddenly, a woman in golden armor called me hero. She handed me a sourdough loaf and said it was my sword. Swinging it, I only managed to hit my own dignity. The forest around us hummed eerily, like an empty fridge. A raccoon wearing a chef's hat demanded my bread like it was rent. I accidentally sent the raccoon flying with a wild loaf swing. Sarah, the armored woman, kept yelling focus. But I wanted coffee. Goblins armed with baguettes charged us. Hitting enemies with bread felt strangely satisfying. A cinnamon roll golem tried to hug me to death. I pretended to be allergic. We arrived at a fortress shaped like a giant toaster. Lord Crust sat on a croissant throne, buttering his ego. I swung my loaf again. Crumbs flew everywhere. We formed a party. Machi the raccoon chef, Pip the magical cat, Bran the nervous knight. Machi called every enemy tasty, which strangely boosted morale. Pip sneezed sparkles whenever magic was mentioned. Bran fainted dramatically. I patched him up. Training was a blur of running, screaming, and pastry puns. I learned to aim my loaf like dodging overdue bills. Sarah taught me to block attacks with flair. We infiltrated the bakery fortress and stole a muffin called Courage. Our friendship grew through shared food and bad jokes. I told stories about my old life. They listened eagerly. As two suns set, I felt strangely calm. The city of crumbs was as crusty as it sounded. The pretzel mayor tried taxing our jokes. I politely declined. A tavern quest sent us after sacred yeast promised to brew free ale. Moki's cooking contest turned into a glazed duel. Pip's spell turned insults into confetti, ruining the tavern's reputation. We chased clues through alleys smelling of nostalgia. A highwayman tried to extort snacks. Bran's trembling diplomacy saved us. Yeast was guarded by sage ferment on a baguette-shaped mountain. We debated if garlic bread was truly a sandwich. Sage ferment only gave us yeast after I recited a muffin limerick. The yeast smelled like rain and hope. We entered the desert of crackers, each step crunching underfoot. A merchant sold mirages and miracle fillings. I bought blindly. We saved a caravan from soggy seaweed biscuits. I caught Sarah looking wistfully at the horizon. Night watches fostered awkward trust. A Sandraith fight taught me that bravery is loud complaining plus one swing. Moki's sand pie nearly earned forgiveness. I confessed my homesickness. They gave me a dried apricot necklace for protection. I learned to breathe new air crossing the desert. Lord Crust's land smelled like forgotten picnics. Skirmishes sharpened our skills. Bran was badly hurt. I carried him to safety. Machi treated Bran's wounds with seasoning and jokes. Sarah teased my sarcasm and resolve. We rescued villagers trapped under stale croissants. A spy revealed Lord Crust's power came from a curse of crumb. I felt the world's sadness. Swinging bread wasn't enough. We planned our infiltration. On attack's eve, I counted suns anxiously. Inside the toaster fortress, I glimpsed Lord Crust's past. He was once a baker full of love. Loss twisted him empty shops. A lost child. Sarah spoke softly of his forgotten kindness. I wanted to fix him, not fight him. We argued whether to fight or heal. Pip suggested a yeast ritual to mend hearts. I felt torn between home and my new friends. I cried quietly, realizing bravery is a quiet apology. I planned to fight with song and pie. Our plan included dance distraction and dough stealth. The dance confused enemies. The yeast ritual felt warm and alive. Lord Crust attacked with fury. I realized my power was in remembering. I recited names of those he once helped. Minions faltered, nostalgia spread, the curse of Crumb pushed us back. Sarah fell, panic turned to determination. I whispered names like lullabies. We advanced carefully. Bran risked himself to save Pip. Machi threw a frying pan with perfect aim. Sarah told old stories of Lord Crust's kindness. I held the yeast, choice weighing heavily. I offered yeast as an apology. Lord Crust hesitated, eyes softening. A shard hit a friend who took my blow. I screamed and ran. I pushed memories into the yeast. Lord Crust dissolved into a tired man. He apologized like a broken oven. Villages reopened. Ovens lit. I sat on a rooftop, feeling trusted. Awards were awkward. I bowed gracelessly. Pip performed fireworks. I cried. Bran stood tall again. Machi opened a snack stall. Sarah whispered home. A portal home required a recipe and promise. We gathered candles, song, and a ridiculous hat to stabilize the portal. Machi gave me a stale cookie talisman for luck. Sarah hugged me tightly, whispering, "Remember, you're always welcome." Letters and maps were exchanged among friends. A breadcrumb storm disrupted our portal ceremony. We fought crumbs with laughter and slapstick coordination. The portal flickered, hesitant to open. I thought about my old apartment and forgotten plants. I promised to return to this strange world someday. The portal smelled faintly of coffee and distant radio static. A guardian loaf demanded I solve a jam riddle to pass. Machi pressed a spoon into my hand, saying, "Use this for trouble." We took a group photo that looked more like a wanted poster. I felt the pull of home growing stronger. Sarah told me I'd always have a place here. I stepped into the portal's light, heart pounding. The last scent was fresh bread and Moki's optimism. I was launched like a confused comet toward my real world. I woke up in my bed, alarm blaring, cat judging my pillow choice. My hands still smelled faintly of yeast and courage. On my desk lay a sourdough loaf that didn't belong. Coffee tasted better than ever, tinged with magic. Sarah messaged me, "Come visit soon." I watched a bakery truck pass, remembering 2 sons and purple sheep. Friends from that world came in dreams and the smell of toast. I held the sourdough at night, feeling its strange weight. I baked more, called my mother, and told her about strange adventures. Worlds shifted around me, but home was a promise I kept. Life returned with a heart fuller than before. I laughed more and fought less, savoring every crumb. Days blurred with memories and hope. Moki's snacks became famous in both worlds. Pip's magic sparkled daily in small, silly ways. Bran grew braver, fainting less often. Sarah smiled rarely but warmly. I started journaling our adventures, preserving them forever. Friends visited me in dreams and scents. I found joy in small, ordinary things. The loaf on my desk glowed faintly, a secret reminder. I dreamed often of golden armor and distant suns. Bread fights became friendly competitions among neighbors. I defended a local bakery from a gang of trolls once. A cat with sparkles followed me home one rainy night. Sometimes I missed the strange world more than I expected. Sarah's voice echoed in my thoughts, a comforting song. I baked with more care, seasoning memories with flour. The past tasted sweeter with time and distance. I made peace with who I was and where I came from. Adventures shaped my future in unexpected ways. I faced challenges with new strength and old friends in heart. I embraced both the strange and the familiar. Friendship became the bridge between worlds. I remembered laughter during the hardest fights. Magic felt like a secret handshake I now understood. I learned the power of kindness, even in battle. I found home inside myself, not just a place. The loaf became a symbol of hope and courage. I was ready for whatever came next. Life, surprisingly, tasted delicious and full. I smiled, knowing my story was just beginning. The sourdough waited silently on my desk, a reminder. I shared my tale with friends who listened wide-eyed. The worlds might be separate, but hearts remained connected. I kept Sarah's promise close, knowing she meant it. The adventure had changed me in ways words can't capture. I felt the pull of new quests in distant horizons. Each loaf I baked told a story of friendship and courage. I laughed again, a little louder than before. The strange world was never far from my mind. I slept peacefully, ready for dreams and dawn. Mornings came with the smell of fresh bread and hope. I remembered the purple sheep and the two suns. Sarah's golden armor shone in my memories. Moki's laughter echoed in the kitchens. Pip's sparkles danced in the air around me. Bran's nervous smile was a reminder of growth. I learned to cherish small victories and big friendships. The loaf was my sword, my shield, my story. I looked forward, knowing the future was wide open. The journey was far from over, but I was ready. I found strength in remembering where I'd been. Magic and mundane blended in my daily life. The worlds I lived between were both home now. I told my story to those who would listen. Adventure lived in every corner, every crumb. The sourdough loaf reminded me of who I was. I laughed at how far I'd come since that crazy Tuesday. Sarah's voice guided me, soft and steady. Friends, old and new, filled my days with light. I embraced the strange with open arms. Life was a tapestry of moments, magic, and bread. I learned to swing my loaf with confidence. The world was bigger, stranger, and more beautiful than I imagined. I kept the promise to return to Sarah's world someday. Memories warmed me like fresh-baked bread. The adventure shaped my heart and soul. I knew that whatever came, I would face it with friends. The sourdough was no longer just bread, it was my story. I smiled, ready for new chapters and new suns, and so I began again. The morning sun filtered through my window as if urging me to begin anew. I brewed coffee, the aroma reminding me of distant lands and distant friends. The sourdough loaf sat quietly, a steadfast companion on my desk. I checked my messages. A new one from Sarah blinked softly. "Training continues," she wrote. "You're not done yet, hero." I smiled, feeling both nervous and excited. My daily routine suddenly felt like a mission briefing. I grabbed my backpack, now filled with strange trinkets from another world. The streets buzzed with normalcy, but I carried magic in my pocket. Every step was a reminder that adventure can live anywhere. I met with old friends at the cafe, sharing laughs and stories. Matcha sent a hologram of his latest snack creation, glittery croissant cones. Pip's magic still caused sparks when she was excited. Bran called, promising to visit soon, less faint and more fearless. Sarah's words echoed in my mind. "Keep your loaf sharp." I felt a strange mix of homesickness and hope. At night, I practiced swinging my loaf, more confidently now. The crust cracked softly, like a heartbeat sensing with mine. I wrote down plans for the next journey, maybe an unexpected sequel. Dreams visited me filled with golden armor and glowing yeast. The world felt larger, full of possibilities. I found a new bakery, its windows shimmering mysteriously. Inside, an old man offered me a map, saying, "For those who seek more than bread." I accepted, curiosity bubbling like fresh dough. The map showed places I'd never heard of, marked with tiny symbols. I realized the adventure was far from over. I prepared my gear, folding memories and hope into my pack. Machi promised to bake treats for the journey. Pip swore to add sparkle to every step. Bran promised less fainting, more fighting. We met again at the portal site, ready for whatever awaited. Sarah's armor gleamed in the morning light. The portal hummed to life, swirling with possibility. I stepped through, heart pounding with excitement and fear. New lands stretched before us, filled with strange creatures and magic. The air smelled like spices and adventure. We navigated forests where trees whispered secrets. A mischievous fairy challenged us to riddles and games. I laughed, realizing the journey was as much about joy as danger. Nights were spent under stars unfamiliar but welcoming. We encountered a village where laughter was banned until we arrived. I led a comedy show with puns and bread jokes, breaking the silence. Smiles returned like sunrise, warm and unstoppable. The villagers gifted us enchanted loaves that glowed softly. I felt my heart grow lighter with every laugh. A shadow threatened the village, a sour spirit hungry for sorrow. We prepared to defend with courage and crumb. The battle was fierce but filled with humor and hope. I swung my loaf with newfound skill and purpose. The sour spirit fled, banished by joy and friendship. The village celebrated, and I felt more a hero than ever. Sarah thanked me quietly, her eyes shining with pride. Moki's treats were the highlight of the feast. Pip's sparkles danced above the crowd. Bran stood taller, smiling without fear. I realized that sometimes the smallest acts can change worlds. We continued our journey, hearts full and spirits high. The map guided us to mountains that touched the clouds. Legend spoke of a hidden bakery atop the highest peak. We climbed, the air thin but determination thick. At the summit, we found a bakery suspended by magic. The baker there taught us secrets of the perfect crust. I learned that patience was the secret ingredient in life and bread. We rested, enjoying the view and warm loaves. A sudden storm tested our resolve and teamwork. We huddled, sharing stories and warmth. The storm passed, leaving rainbows and renewed hope. I felt stronger, ready for whatever came next. We descended, carrying lessons and loaves alike. The journey's rhythm became part of my soul. We entered a forest where shadows danced and whispered. I faced my fears, walking boldly into the unknown. Sarah's voice guided me, steady and sure. Moki's laughter broke the tension. Pip's sparkles lit the darkest paths. Bran's steady hands helped us cross perilous bridges. I realized that together we could face anything. The forest revealed hidden paths and forgotten stories. We found an ancient oven, still warm with magic. Baking there, we connected with the past and future. The scent of fresh bread filled the air, mingling with magic. We felt the world shift around us, promising new adventures. I smiled, knowing my story was still unfolding. Friendship and courage were my true weapons. The loaf in my hand was no longer just bread, it was a symbol. I looked forward to tomorrow with hope and determination. The journey was far from over, but for now, I was home, wherever that might be. I took a deep breath, savoring the moment, and I was ready for whatever the world had next. A new dawn brought new possibilities. I felt alive in a way I never had before. The past and future intertwined in my heart. I promised myself to keep swinging, keep laughing, keep living. The story wasn't just mine, it belonged to all of us. I looked at my friends, my family, my team. Together, we were unstoppable. I whispered a thank you to the worlds that had shaped me. The loaf on my desk glowed softly, a beacon of hope, and so the adventure continued. The new world welcomed us with a breeze full of sweet spices and untold stories. Every step felt like walking through a painting alive with color and sound. I tightened my grip on the sourdough loaf, my constant companion and sword. Sarah's golden armor shimmered in the sunlight, a beacon of hope. Matcha juggled glowing pastries, turning our journey into a circus act. Pip's magic sparkled unpredictably, sometimes lighting our path, sometimes setting off harmless explosions. Bran nervously checked our maps, determined not to faint again. Our laughter echoed through the valleys, challenging the silence. We encountered a village trapped in endless night, its people whispering fears. I stepped forward, ready to bring light in more ways than one. The village elder told of a cursed moon stealing their sun. We prepared an ancient recipe said to banish darkness. Gathering rare ingredients involved hilarious misadventures, including a chase after a sassy phoenix. Moki's cooking skills saved the day more than once, though sometimes with unintended side effects. Pip's magic helped us navigate labyrinthine forests filled with giggling trees. Bran grew braver, facing shadows without trembling. I realized that courage wasn't absence of fear, but dancing with it. We baked the sun loaf under a sky torn between stars and clouds. As the first slice was cut, the village brightened like a dawn reborn. Children laughed, and the darkness retreated in defeat. The villagers celebrated with feasts and songs, inviting us to join. Sarah spoke of our journey's meaning, not just battles, but healing. I felt a warmth spread through my chest, the power of true friendship. Machi revealed a secret recipe for joy bread, said to make even the saddest smile. Pip created sparkles that danced on the bread's crust. Bran nervously volunteered to be the first taster. His grin after the first bite was worth every struggle. The village gifted us a charm shaped like a wheat stalk. It pulsed gently in my hand, reminding me of hope's fragile strength. We rested, sharing stories beneath a sky now free of shadows. Our path led us toward the crystal caves, rumored to hold ancient baking secrets. The caves glittered with translucent walls, reflecting our eager faces. Inside, we faced puzzles made of sugar crystals and candied riddles. I marveled at the blend of sweetness and danger. Matcha danced through traps with surprising grace. Pip's magic illuminated hidden paths, revealing forgotten murals. Bran's steady hands guided us through slippery passages. I felt the weight of history in every crystal shard. At the cave's heart, we found a legendary oven, still warm after centuries. Baking there connected us to generations of heroes past. The oven's heat seemed to infuse the bread with memories and dreams. I baked carefully, feeling the magic flow through me. The resulting loaf shimmered softly, a promise of power and peace. We left the caves carrying new strength and purpose. Outside, a mysterious figure watched us silently from the shadows. I sensed both challenge and curiosity in their eyes. Sarah readied her sword, alert but cautious. Machi prepared a snack because you never know. Pip sparkled nervously, magic humming in the air. Bran tightened his grip on his shield, heart steady. The figure stepped forward, revealing a grin both mischievous and wise. "I've been waiting for you," they said, voice smooth as honeyed bread. They introduced themselves as the baker, a legend turned rogue. Their goals were unclear, but their charm was undeniable. I felt a strange pull, both warning and invitation. Sarah urged caution, while Machi wanted to learn more. Pip's sparkles flickered uncertainly. Bran prepared for the worst, hoping for the best. The baker proposed a challenge, a bake-off with stakes beyond imagination. Refusing meant leaving mysteries unsolved. Accepting meant risking everything. We agreed, knowing this could change our fates. The contest began under a sky swirling with magical energy. Ingredients appeared from thin air, rare and wondrous. Machi worked with joyful frenzy, creativity unleashed. Pip cast spells enhancing flavor and sparkle. Bran guarded our supplies with unwavering focus. I mixed dough with hope and determination, feeling the moment's weight. The baker's creations dazzled and challenged our senses. Spectators from many realms gathered, breath held in anticipation. The final loaf rose, glowing with otherworldly light. Judges tasted with solemn expressions, then smiles broke across faces. Our bread was declared a triumph of courage and friendship. The baker nodded, respect earned but game far from over. They warned of darker trials ahead, where bread alone might not save us. I felt the journey's true test was only beginning. Sarah vowed to stand by me no matter the odds. Machi prepared supplies for the road. Pip's magic flared with renewed purpose. Bran stood tall, ready to face shadows without fear. I gripped my loaf, heart steady. We stepped into a portal glowing with unknown power. The world beyond shimmered, full of secrets and dangers. Our bond held strong against shifting landscapes. Each challenge sharpened our skills and spirits. We uncovered ancient recipes forgotten by time. Laughter and courage became our weapons. Memories of home fueled our determination. Shadows tried to dim our light but failed. We found strength in each other's resolve. The sourdough loaf pulsed softly, a heartbeat of hope. I dreamed of Sarah's smile, a beacon through darkness. Moki's laughter chased away doubts. Pip's sparkles marked our path. Bran's courage grew daily. We approached a final gate marked with runes of promise and peril. I took a deep breath, ready for what lay beyond. Together, we stepped forward, facing the unknown. The air buzzed with magic and possibility. I knew this was our moment to shine, and so the greatest chapter began. The gate shimmered as we approached, ancient runes glowing softly. Sarah whispered, "This is it, the crossroads of fate." Machi balanced a basket of enchanted pastries, ready for whatever came. Pip's sparkles danced nervously, lighting the path ahead. Bran took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. I gripped my sourdough loaf tighter. It was more than bread now. It was my resolve. Together, we stepped through the gate and into the unknown. The world shifted around us, colors swirling like liquid light. We found ourselves in a land where time flowed like syrup, thick, slow, and sweet. The air smelled of caramel and cinnamon. A river of honey flowed beside us, reflecting skies that changed hue with every blink. Strange creatures floated lazily, fish with wings and flowers that hummed melodies. We encountered a group of friendly marshmallow giants who invited us to a feast. Machi was in heaven, sampling every sweet treat with delight. Pip tried to convince the giants to teach her their magic. Bran cautiously enjoyed the food, wary but pleased. I laughed, feeling warmth in this strange, sugary world. The giants shared stories of an ancient bakery that controlled the flow of time. They warned us of the time crust, a powerful artifact we must find. Without it, the balance of both worlds could crumble. We set out to find the time crust, our loaf swords ready for any challenge. The path led us through fields of spinning cotton candy clouds. Suddenly, time fractured, the sky sped up, then slowed to a crawl. Pip's magic flared, stabilizing the flow around us. We navigated shifting terrain, dodging sticky traps and syrupy quicksand. Bran's steady hands saved us from slipping into a caramel pit. Machi created a cake shield to protect us from sudden bursts of time energy. I felt the weight of history pressing on my shoulders. The time crust pulsed ahead, glowing with ancient power. We reached a towering clock tower made of gingerbread and spice. Inside, gears turned with endless precision, ticking in rhythm with our hearts. A mysterious figure awaited us, the time baker, keeper of moments lost and found. Their eyes sparkled with the knowledge of centuries. They challenged us to prove our worth through trials of patience and courage. We faced puzzles that tested our minds and spirits. Moki's creativity helped solve riddles of flavor and time. Pip's magic illuminated hidden clues. Bran's determination pushed us through moments of doubt. I learned that true strength comes from balance between action and stillness. We earned the time crust, feeling its power course through us. The time baker warned us of a coming darkness that sought to unravel time itself. We promised to protect the balance, no matter the cost. Exiting the clock tower, we found the world shifting, once more shadows lengthening. The air grew heavy with anticipation and threat. Sarah readied her sword, eyes fierce with determination. Machi packed supplies, humming nervously. Pip's sparkles flickered, a warning light. Bran stood tall, shield raised. I held the time crust and my sourdough, ready to fight. The final battle was near. Shadows emerged from cracks in time-twisted beings hungry for chaos. We fought fiercely, bread and magic clashing against darkness. Moki's pastries exploded in bursts of light, dazzling enemies. Pip's sparkles formed protective barriers. Bran's shield held strong against relentless attacks. Sarah's sword danced with precision and power. I swung my loaf with renewed purpose, each strike fueled by hope. The time crust pulsed, repairing fractures in time's fabric. The darkness roared, but we stood united. Together, we pushed the shadows back into the void. With a final burst of light, the battle ended. The world began to heal, colors brightening and time flowing smoothly again. We stood breathless but victorious. Sarah smiled a rare and genuine expression of pride. Matcha laughed, already planning a victory feast. Pip's sparkles danced joyfully around us. Bran exhaled deeply, relieved and proud. I felt a deep sense of peace, knowing we had saved both worlds. The time crust glowed softly, a beacon of balance restored. Our journey had reached its climax, but our story was far from over. We returned to the portal, ready to go home or continue adventuring. Sarah placed a hand on my shoulder, whispering, "Wherever you choose, you'll always be a hero." Machi packed treats for the journey ahead. Pip sparkled with excitement for the future. Bran smiled confidently, ready for anything. I stepped through the portal, heart full of gratitude and hope. The familiar sense of home greeted me: coffee, bread, and possibility. My cat jumped on the windowsill, curious and unimpressed. The sourdough loaf sat on my desk, glowing faintly in the morning light. I smiled, ready to share my tale with the world. Days passed, filled with baking, laughter, and quiet reflection. Friends visited in dreams and memories. I wrote down our adventures, preserving them forever. The loaf on my desk reminded me of courage and friendship. Sarah's voice echoed in my heart, guiding me. Moki's recipes inspired new creations. Pip's magic shimmered in everyday moments. Bran's bravery lived on in stories told around fires. I felt whole, connected to both worlds and all they taught me. Life was richer, fuller, and filled with endless possibilities. The sourdough was no longer just bread, it was my symbol, my story. I embraced every challenge with laughter and courage. I knew adventures awaited, both near and far. Friends and memories made me stronger. I lived with hope and heart, ready for whatever came next. The worlds I loved were forever part of me. I looked forward to new stories, new breads, and new friends. The adventure was never truly over. It simply changed shape, like dough rising to meet the heat. And with that, I was ready to face the future, loaf in hand, heart open. I woke to the sourdough's faint glow and thought, for a second, I was still dreaming. The loaf hummed like a tiny heart on my desk. My phone buzzed. "Sarah, when can you come back?" I smiled, packed the loaf, and felt the old pull in my bones. The portal smelled of coffee and dawn. I stepped through without hesitation. I landed with a flop and a laugh. The team cheered like idiots. Matcha slapped a pastry into my hand before I could protest. Pip sneezed sparkles that landed on my hair and stuck like tiny stars. Bran bowed so low his knees clicked like bad armor. Sarah's eyes searched mine, calm, hard, like polished steel. She said 3 words that made everything sharpen. "We have trouble." A map unfurled between us, inked with cracks and new dark marks. I traced one spot, a spreading gray like spilled flour gone rotten. The villagers whispered of bread that turned to ash in mouths. Fields that once sang wheat now sighed mildew. Someone called it the spoilan infection of memory and crust. The time crust pulsed in my pack, uneasy and thin. It eats what people forget, Sarah said quietly. I felt the loaf get heavier, like responsibility with butter. We set out, boots crunching on brittle crumbs. The wind tasted of old ovens and lost promises. A child ran after us with a biscuit doll, eyes to Sirius. Please fix my father's shop, she begged, voice small as crumbs. I promised and tucked the plea into my pocket like a coin. Our path led to the spoilwood where trees grew mold-in patterns. Mushrooms hummed lullabies that made travelers forget directions. I almost forgot my own name when a song wound around my ears. Pip coughed and flung sparkles to cut the haze. Machi sang nonsense at top volume. Apparently that works. Laughter is a surprisingly effective anti-mold. We crossed a creek that smelled like stale dough and regret. Shadows skittered tiny creatures made of crumbs and memory. They were called echo crumbs, and they whispered names you'd lost. I heard my grandmother's laugh and almost stopped. I forced my feet forward, each step a small rebellion. Bran held the rear, shield bright with patchwork prayers. Machi tossed toasted charms to slow the swarm. Pip cast a ring of warmth that made the echo crumbs sing softer. I chewed my lip and pressed the loaf to my chest. The yeast inside thrummed like it knew a secret. We found the black oven's smoke like ink pouring into the sky. A banner flapped, Spoilmaster, in letters dripped with mold. Guards of stale rye barred the gate, eyes hollow as empty bowls. Sarah drew her sword and moved like lightning with a poem in her step. I charged with the loaf like a ridiculous, determined knight. The first swing scattered crumbs and memories both. A guard's face softened mid-fall, remembering a sunrise long gone. That softness made him fragile. He shattered like an overbaked cookie. We pushed into the courtyard, where rot smelled almost sweet. In the center, the spoilmaster waited draped in tattered aprons. His voice was like bread left too long under rain. You come to reclaim what you forgot, he rasped. I felt a chill, like my happiest day had been misplaced. He raised a hand and the air filled with drifting recipes half remembered, broken. Memories curled into hands and tried to snatch our eyes. I closed mine and remembered one simple truth, laughter. I told the worst joke I knew and the spoilmaster blinked. My team followed ridiculous dance, terrible puns, defiant joy. The act cut through the fog like hot butter. The spoilmaster snarled and sent forth a wave of rot. I slammed the sourdough into the ground and felt a pulse reply. The yeast woke like a sleeping friend called by name. Warmth rolled outward, smelling of kitchens and good mornings. The echo crumbs stopped whispering and began to hum a tune. Villagers' faces flickered in the air faces we'd saved before. The spoilmaster hissed, his apron frayed into shards of forgotten vows. He was feeding off neglect, using sorrow as leaven. I realized we had to give people reasons to remember. So we performed stories, songs, little dances of memory and bread. Each laugh stitched a missing thread back into the world. The spoilmaster's shadow shrank with each genuine smile. A baker we'd helped years ago appeared, hands flour-dusted and grateful. He wore a simple smile that looked more powerful than armor. You reminded me, he said, voice cracking like crust. I felt the yeast surge, hot and alive, filling the loaf with more than sustenance. We pressed the loaf to the ground and offered it like a gift. The time crust pulsed in answer, stronger, steady like a heartbeat. The spoilmaster stumbled, memory bleeding back into his face. He blinked and saw himself as he once had been kind, laugh-lined, human. Tears fell from his eyes like tiny, repentant crumbs. He dropped his apron and collapsed, exhausted and relieved. The rot faded as if someone had wiped a fogged window. The village cheered, not loudly, but with a deep, relieved breath. Children reclaimed games lost to sorrow. The baker reopened his shop with trembling hands. I tasted his bread and tasted the village's history inside it. It was warm, honest, and full of names. Sarah ruffled my hair like I was still a fool with a loaf. Machi winked and handed me a tiny pastry shaped like a key. Pip cast sparkles over the street, little stars of memory. We rested on the bakery roof and watched the sun climb steady. I thought about home and realized I carried both worlds in my pockets. The time crust warmed against my side like a friendly pulse. We can't fix everything, I admitted to Sarah. She leaned on her sword and said, "No, but we can remind." I nodded and felt the truth settle like flour on the air. Machi hummed a tune I'd heard in childhood, and I mouthed every word. Bran laughed until he hiccuped, and it sounded like a small victory. I tucked the pastry key into my pocket-proof and I promised myself I'd keep swinging, keep reminding, and keep coming back. I rolled, heart-pounding, and slammed the bread into its armored chest. The crust cracked like breaking ice, releasing a wave of golden light. The beast screeched, retreating a step, almost there. Sarah cried, tracing glowing lines with her spear's tip. The runes ignited, pulsing like a heartbeat. The gatekeeper's roar became more frantic, its movements wild. I planted my feet, waiting for its next rush. It charged, claws raised high. At the last second, I ducked and thrust the loaf forward. The bread's magic flared, punching through the armor with a blinding flash. The creature collapsed, dissolving into black mist. I gasped, the sourdough now warm in my hands. Sarah turned to me, smiling. "Gates open," she said. We stepped through the massive iron doors. The world shifted suddenly. We were standing under a violet sky. Floating islands drifted above us, chained to the ground by silver lightning. Waterfalls poured upward instead of down. The ground beneath our feet hummed with power. "This is the High Realm," Sarah said softly. "And that," she pointed ahead, "is where the real battle begins." In the distance, a crystalline palace shimmered. Around it swirled a storm of black feathers. Each feather was the size of a sword. The air thickened, pressing against my chest. Something ancient was watching us. I tightened my grip on the loaf. Sarah's steps were sure, but I could see tension in her shoulders. "What's in there?" I asked. "The Queen of Shadows," she said. "She's the one who erased your name." My stomach dropped. "And if we win?" Sarah hesitated. "Then you'll remember everything." The ground shook violently. From the clouds above, a giant black wing descended, blotting out the light. A second wing followed, and then the creature they belonged to. A massive bird, no, a god landed before us. Its beak was jagged obsidian, its eyes pits of burning silver. "Intruders," it rumbled, voice like grinding stone. "State your final prayer." Sarah didn't flinch. "I pray that you move aside." The god bird screeched and lunged. I dodged left. Sarah dove right. Its claws gouged a crater into the glowing earth. I swung my bread at its talon shockingly. It recoiled. "It fears your weapon," Sarah yelled. The bird roared again, flapping its wings to create a hurricane. I staggered, trying to keep my footing. Feathers sliced past me, embedding into the ground like spears. One grazed my cheek, drawing blood. Adrenaline surged. I charged forward. I slammed the loaf into its leg, releasing another burst of golden energy. The god bird screamed, lifting into the air. Its shadow passed over us like nightfall. "Now," Sarah shouted. She hurled her spear into its chest, the crystal shattering in a burst of light. The creature convulsed, then dissolved into motes of silver dust. The air grew still. Only the sound of distant waterfalls remained. Sarah retrieved her spear's broken shaft. "One guardian down," she said grimly. "Two more to go." My stomach churned. If that was the first, I didn't want to meet the others. We pressed on, crossing a bridge of glass that sang under our feet. The palace loomed larger with every step. Thunder rumbled overhead, but the sky was cloudless. I realized the sound came from the chains holding the floating islands. They were straining, as if ready to break. "We don't have much time," Sarah warned. Ahead, a pair of golden gates slowly swung open. Inside, the air shimmered with heat. A figure awaited us all, robed in crimson. Its face was hidden behind a mask of carved jade. "Welcome, bread bearer," it said. The voice was calm, but my skin crawled. "I have been expecting you." Sarah raised her spear. "Get out of our way," the masked figure chuckled. "Oh, I'm not here to stop you. I'm here to test you." I woke to the soft patter of rain against my window, the city quiet and gray. My phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. "Are you ready?" I grabbed my coat and headed out, the loaf of sourdough tucked safely in my bag. Sarah waited at the corner, her eyes sharp beneath her hood. "The citadel is just ahead," she said, voice tense. We moved through twisting alleys, shadows dancing on the walls. Thunder rumbled softly, the air thick with magic. The massive gates of the citadel loomed before us, black iron glowing faintly. "Stay close," Sarah whispered as the gates creaked open. We stepped into a violet-lit courtyard, statues watching silently. A chill ran down my spine as a hooded figure emerged from the shadows. "Welcome, bread bearer," she said, her voice cold and steady. "I've been expecting you." I steadied myself, gripping the loaf tighter. "What do you want?" I asked. "To test your worth," she replied, raising a hand shimmering with dark energy. Shadows twisted and lunged towards us, monstrous and fierce. Sarah raised her spear, ready to fight. I swung the sourdough, glowing with ancient power. The first beast dissolved into mist under the loaf's magic. "Good," Sarah nodded, "but the real challenge lies ahead." We pressed deeper into the citadel, each step heavier than the last. The air hummed with whispers of those who had fallen before us. I clenched my fists, feeling the loaf's warmth steady me. A door of swirling light appeared, guarded by 2 armored knights. "Prove your courage," one said. I stepped forward, heart pounding. The knights swung their swords in unison. Sarah deflected one strike with her spear. I dodged the other and struck with the sourdough. The armor cracked like old crust, the knight falling silently. Beyond the door lay a chamber filled with glowing runes and floating books. A cold voice echoed from the shadows. "You think bread can stop me?" "Bread stops more than you know," I said, stepping forward. The sourdough blazed with golden light, pulsing fiercely. Shadows lunged again, but I stood firm. I swung the loaf, sending waves of light crashing. The voice shrieked and faded into silence. Sarah smiled faintly. One step closer, the final door stood before us, carved with fire and ice symbols. "Ready?" Sarah asked. I nodded, heart racing. Together, we pushed the door open. Inside, a crystalline throne awaited. Seated upon it was the Queen of Shadows. Her eyes glowed with dark fire, a cruel smile on her lips. "You've come far, little bread bearer, and I'm not finished yet." The battle erupted with flashes of light and shadow. I dodged a blast of dark energy, swinging my loaf with all my might. Sarah fought fiercely, her spear cutting through enemies. The Queen's power was overwhelming, but I held my ground. Every strike of the sourdough sent bursts of golden light. Slowly, the Queen faltered. "Impossible," she hissed. "Bread can break darkness," I said, pushing forward. With one final swing, the Queen shattered into shards of light. The citadel trembled as shadows dissolved. Sarah and I stood victorious, but exhausted. "It's over," she said softly. The loaf's glow faded, but warmth remained. We walked back through the gates, the violet light dimming. Outside, the city seemed brighter, alive with new hope. "What now?" I asked. Sarah smiled. "You remember now." That's the real victory. Memories flooded back, friends, battles, and the journey here. I felt whole again, stronger than ever. "Time to go home," I said. Sarah nodded, and we started walking towards the horizon. The sun broke through clouds, casting golden light on our path. The world felt new, full of endless possibilities. I looked down at the loaf, now just ordinary bread again. But to me, it was a symbol of everything I'd overcome. As we walked, laughter bubbled up from deep inside me. "Next adventure," Sarah teased. "Always," I replied, grinning. The journey had changed me forever, and now I was ready for anything. The key between worlds was mine to wield. With courage, friendship, and a trusty loaf, I could face whatever came next. The city faded behind us as new horizons beckoned. I felt the thrill of freedom and hope surge through me. Home wasn't just a place, it was a feeling I had finally found again. Sarah and I walked on, partners in a story still unfolding. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in fiery hues. Stars began to twinkle, promising new tales. I smiled, ready to write every one of them. The end of one journey was just the start of another, and with that thought, I stepped forward. Into the future, into the unknown, into the light. The loaf, my unlikely sword, was my reminder that even the smallest things could hold great power, and that courage could come from the most unexpected places. My story wasn't over, it was just beginning. The key between worlds was finally mine. The morning sun warmed my face as I stepped out into a world that felt both familiar and strange. The memories of the citadel still lingered, like whispers at the edge of my mind. Sarah walked beside me, silent but alert. "What's next?" I asked, curious and cautious. "First, rest," she replied. "We found a small village nestled between rolling hills, its people wary but kind. The smell of fresh bread filled the air, a comforting reminder of home." I shared my loaf story with a baker who nodded knowingly. "Bread is more than food," she said. "It's life and magic." That night, under a canopy of stars, I felt peace I hadn't known in ages. But peace was fleeting. A shadow passed over the village, dark and silent. The villagers whispered of a creeping darkness beyond the hills. Sarah and I prepared, knowing our journey wasn't done. I sharpened the loaf, feeling its latent power stir. Our path led toward the mountains, where ancient secrets waited. The air grew colder, the wind sharper with every step. Snow began to fall, soft and silent. A figure appeared on the trail, cloaked, mysterious. "I've been waiting," the stranger said, voice calm and deep. Trust was scarce, but we needed answers. The stranger spoke of a lost artifact, key to sealing the darkness forever. "It's hidden in the Heartstone Cavern," he explained. "But guarded by beasts born of nightmare." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Then we have no time to lose." We pressed onward, determination hardening our resolve. The cavern's mouth yawned before us, cold and foreboding. Inside, shadows twisted and shifted with malevolent life. I gripped the loaf tighter, its warmth a steady comfort. Every step echoed in the cavern's vast emptiness. Suddenly, a roar shattered the silence. A beast emerged, scales glinting like shattered glass. Its eyes burned with hunger and fury. Sarah charged, spear flashing. I swung the loaf, light bursting with every strike. The battle raged, fierce and relentless. The beast faltered, struck by the loaf's magic. With a final cry, it dissolved into mist. We pressed deeper into the cavern's heart. There, on a pedestal, rested the artifact, a glowing crystal pulsing with power. As I reached out, the cavern trembled. Shadows surged, coalescing into a monstrous form. "You cannot take the Heartstone," it growled. Not while I live, the final guardian, a titan of shadow and flame. I felt fear, sharp and cold. But Sarah's hand on my shoulder steadied me. Together, she said. We fought as one, light and spear against darkness and fire. The battle tested every ounce of our strength and will. The titan roared, its form unraveling under our assault. With a mighty swing, I struck the final blow. The cavern exploded in light, shadows dissolving into nothingness. The Heartstone's glow filled the space, warm and pure. We took the artifact, its power humming through us. The darkness beyond the hills began to recede. The village breathed easier, hope rekindled in their eyes. Sarah smiled, weary but triumphant. Our journey is almost over, she said. I nodded, feeling the weight of everything we'd faced. The road home stretched before us, bathed in morning light. I thought of everything lost, everything gained, of friends made and battles fought, of the strange, magical world that had become my reality. Do you think they'll remember me? I asked Sarah. You never truly left, she replied, and soon you'll be whole again. The loaf in my bag felt heavier, charged with new energy. I took a deep breath, ready for whatever lay ahead. The horizon beckoned, wide and welcoming. As we walked, I felt the key within me stir. The power to open doors, between worlds, between hearts. I wasn't just a traveler anymore. I was a guardian, a hero in my own story, and this was only the beginning. The sun dipped low, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson. I looked at Sarah, grateful for her strength and friendship. Ready for the next adventure? She asked. I smiled. Always. Together, we stepped forward into the twilight. The path was uncertain, but our hearts were sure. The key between worlds glowed softly, a beacon in the night. Every challenge we faced had made us stronger, and every step brought us closer to home. I thought of my family, my past life waiting to be reclaimed. The magic of the journey had changed me forever, but the warmth of home called louder than ever. We're almost there, Sarah said, voice filled with hope. The stars appeared, twinkling like promises in the sky. I held the loaf close, feeling its heartbeat. The final stretch was ahead, a bridge between two worlds. Beyond it lay the place I had once called home. The thought made my heart ache with longing. Are you ready? Sarah asked. I nodded, determination shining in my eyes. Together, we crossed the bridge. The air shimmered, reality bending around us. Colors blurred and shifted, memories flooding back. I stepped forward, feeling the pull of home like never before. The journey was ending, but the story was just beginning. The bridge shimmered beneath my feet as I stepped toward the world I once called home. Colors blurred and swirled, memories flooding back with each heartbeat. Sarah's grip on my arm was steady, grounding me. Almost there, she whispered softly. My heart pounded with a mix of excitement and fear. The familiar city skyline appeared through the shimmering veil. Buildings rose like old friends welcoming me back. Yet the streets felt strangely new, as if I was seeing them for the first time. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message from an unknown number. Welcome back, bread bearer, it read. A chill ran down my spine as I slipped the phone away. What now? I asked Sarah quietly. We finished this journey, she said firmly. We moved through the city's shadows, alert and prepared. Dark remnants from the other world lingered, unseen by most. The sourdough loaf pulsed warmly in my bag, alive with magic. Familiar city sounds mixed with whispered warnings only I could hear. They're still here, I murmured. Sarah tightened her grip on her spear. We find their source, she declared. Our search led us to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts. The air was thick with tension and faint magical energy. Shadows flickered along cracked walls, alive and threatening. A cloaked figure emerged, voice dripping with dark intent. You return, but this time you won't survive. Sarah charged with spear raised. I followed, loaf glowing fiercely. The battle erupted with sparks of light and shadow. The loaf blazed brighter, responding to my will. We pushed the figure back, their darkness faltering. With a final strike, I shattered the shadow into dust. Light flooded the warehouse, dispelling the gloom. Sarah smiled, relief softening her features. It's over. I exhaled deeply, the burden lifting from my chest. The city felt alive again, free from creeping darkness. Dawn's light washed over us as we stood in silence. Thank you, I said, voice filled with gratitude. For everything, Sarah shrugged with a playful grin. Couldn't have done it without you. We walked into the brightening day, the loaf now just ordinary bread? My phone buzzed once more, a message from home. Welcome back. It read simply. A warmth spread through me as I smiled. The journey had changed me, but home was waiting. I felt ready to face whatever came next. With Sarah by my side, the future looked bright. I held the key between worlds firmly in my hand. A new chapter was beginning. We found a quiet park bench and sat, savoring the peace. The loaf rested beside me, ordinary yet powerful. What now? I asked, looking at Sarah. Now, she said, we live. The sun rose higher, casting golden light over the world. I breathed in deeply, feeling magic in every breath. Life was a story waiting to be told, and I was ready to write mine. The key between worlds was finally mine to keep. Together, we stood ready for tomorrow. Our adventure had ended, but our story continued. With every step, I felt the power to change worlds, to protect those I loved, to be the hero I never expected to be. The loaf was more than bread, it was a symbol of hope, of courage, of friendship forged in battle. I looked at Sarah, gratitude shining in my eyes. Thank you for believing in me. Her eyes sparkled as she smiled. Always, the city stretched before us, a canvas for new tales. The pull of home was strong, but so was the bond between worlds. I was their guardian now, the key was mine. The power to open doors and hearts, the future was unwritten. And I was ready to face it head on. As dusk fell, calm settled within me. Battles fought and magic learned had shaped me. I wasn't the same person who stumbled here. I was stronger, wiser, ready. The loaf sat quietly, a reminder of my journey. The key between worlds, my story, my destiny. Sarah stretched and yawned. Time to rest, she asked. I nodded, exhaustion and peace mingling. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for now, I was home, and that was enough. Stars twinkled, lighting the night sky. I closed my eyes, a smile on my lips. The journey ended, yet it had just begun. With courage, friendship, and magic, anything was possible. I whispered a promise to the night. I'll protect both worlds. Sarah's hand found mine warm and steady. Together, we faced the future, ready for whatever came next. Dawn broke over the city, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold. Sarah and I stood atop a rooftop, watching the world awaken. The past battles felt distant now, like echoes in a dream. But the key between worlds pulsed gently in my pocket. Do you think we're truly done? I asked. Sarah shrugged, a mischievous glint in her eyes. In this life, never. We laughed softly, the weight of the world momentarily lifted. Yet beneath the laughter, a quiet vigilance remained. There were always new challenges, new shadows to face. Our footsteps echoed down empty streets as we searched for clues. Rumors whispered of strange happenings in the city's underbelly. Creatures from the other world slipping through cracks in reality. I tightened my grip on the loaf, feeling its magic stir. We have to stop them before it's too late. Sarah nodded, spear ready. We ventured into the labyrinth of alleys and forgotten tunnels. Shadows moved just beyond sight, watching. Suddenly, a growl shattered the silence. A pack of shadow beasts lunged from the darkness. Sarah sprang into action, spear flashing in the dim light. I swung the loaf, light bursting from each strike. The battle was swift but fierce, shadows dissolving under our assault. Panting, we pressed onward deeper into the tunnels. A faint glow pulsed ahead, a portal between worlds. This must be it, I whispered. The air crackled with energy, thick and heavy. Sarah readied herself as I prepared to wield the loaf's power. Together, we stepped through the portal. The world shifted around us. Colors, sounds, everything distorted. We landed in a twisted mirror of the city, dark and distorted. Shadows stretched like fingers, reaching out to ensnare us. Stay close, Sarah warned. Every step felt like a fight against the creeping darkness. We need to find the source, I said, determination burning bright. Strange creatures lurked in alleys, eyes glowing with malice. We fought our way through, loaf blazing with golden light. The source was a towering figure cloaked in shadow and flame. You cannot stop me, it hissed. This world will fall, Sarah charged, spear aimed true. I followed, swinging the loaf with all my might. The battle shook the distorted cityscape. Darkness clashed with light, power colliding with power. The figure roared, unleashing waves of shadow. I blocked them with the loaf's radiant glow. Sarah's spear found its mark, piercing the heart of darkness. The figure screamed, unraveling into sparks of light. The distorted world began to dissolve around us. We raced back through the portal as it closed behind us. Gasping for breath, we emerged into the familiar city night. The key between worlds pulsed softly, peaceful once more. It's really over, I said, disbelief mingling with relief. Sarah smiled, exhaustion in her eyes. For now, we walked home under the stars, the city quiet and safe. I looked down at the loaf, ordinary bread again, but powerful still. Thanks for everything, I whispered. Sarah squeezed my hand gently. We did it together. The next morning, sunlight warmed my room. I reached for my phone, its screen glowing with messages from friends and family. Life outside the adventure awaited, ordinary, familiar, comforting. Yet I felt changed, stronger, ready for anything. The key between worlds rested in my pocket, a promise and a reminder. Time to live, I murmured. Sarah nodded beside me, smiling. Together, the journey had ended, but our story was just beginning. With courage and friendship, we faced the future. Days passed, filled with laughter and quiet moments. The city thrummed with life around us. Yet, I often caught glimpses of magic, faint but real. The worlds were connected, and I was their guardian. One evening, Sarah and I stood watching the sunset, ready for whatever comes next, she asked. I smiled, feeling hope surge within me. Always. Together, we walked into the night, ready for new adventures. The loaf lay on the table, ordinary and magical all at once. I ran my fingers over its crust, feeling memories of battles past. Who would have thought bread could change the world? I chuckled. Sarah laughed beside me, her eyes shining. Never underestimate the power of a good loaf. Our bond was stronger than ever. We were more than friends, partners, warriors, family. The key between worlds was ours to protect. And with it, endless possibilities, the future was ours to write. One morning, a mysterious letter arrived, sealed with a symbol I recognized. An invitation, Sarah said, reading it aloud, to a gathering of guardians from all worlds. My heart raced. New challenges, new allies. Looks like the adventure isn't over yet, I said with a grin. Sarah nodded eagerly. Then we better prepare. The loaf warmed in my hands, ready once more. Together, we faced the unknown with courage. The key between worlds led us forward. The morning sun broke through my window, casting golden light across the room. The letter lay open on the table, its invitation clear and urgent. Today's the day, I whispered, heart pounding. Sarah stood beside me, spear gleaming with readiness. Let's finish this. We stepped through the portal, the worlds merging around us. A great hall awaited, ancient, vast, filled with guardians from countless realms. Faces both familiar and strange looked toward us. Welcome, a voice boomed, deep and powerful. You have been chosen. The assembly's leader, cloaked in light, stepped forward. The balance between worlds is fragile, they explained. Darkness stirs once more, threatening to unravel all. I felt the weight of destiny settle on my shoulders. Sarah squeezed my hand, grounding me. We're ready, I said firmly. The leader nodded solemnly. Together, you will face the final challenge. A swirling vortex opened at the hall's center. Step forward. We crossed into the storm, a realm of chaos and shadow. The air crackled with raw energy, wild and untamed. Figures emerged from the darkness, old foes, twisted and powerful. Sarah and I stood back to back, prepared to fight. The loaf in my hands blazed with radiant light. For the worlds, I vowed. The battle erupted, fierce, relentless, a clash of wills. Shadows lunged and screamed, but we held firm. Together, our strength grew, light overcoming darkness. I felt the key's power surge within me. With one final strike, the darkness shattered, the vortex closed, peace restored. Guardians cheered, their faces alight with hope. Sarah and I stood exhausted but victorious. It's truly over, she breathed. I smiled, relief washing over me. We did it. The leader approached, placing a hand on my shoulder. You are a true guardian, and this is only the beginning. We returned home, the world stable and safe. The city buzzed with life, unaware of the battles fought beyond sight. I looked at Sarah, grateful beyond words. Thank you for everything, she smiled softly. We make a good team. Life resumed, ordinary and extraordinary all at once. The loaf rested quietly, its magic dormant for now. But I knew it would awaken if ever needed. For now, peace reigned. Days passed in calm, filled with laughter and light. I reconnected with family and friends, stories ready to be told. The worlds were linked forever, and I was their keeper. One evening, Sarah and I watched the stars. Do you miss it? She asked quietly. I thought for a moment. The adventure. Sometimes, but I'm glad to be home. She nodded, resting her head on my shoulder. Me too. The loaf sat on the shelf, a reminder of everything. The magic, the battles, the friendships forged. I often caught myself smiling at the memories. The key between worlds was safe, held within me. I'm ready, I whispered to the night sky. For whatever comes next, Sarah squeezed my hand, a promise and a bond. Together, we faced the future. Open and bright. The journey had ended, but our story was eternal, and I was finally home. The city's lights twinkled like stars brought down to earth. I breathed deeply, feeling peace fill my soul. The magic of other worlds now a part of me forever. Sarah smiled, eyes full of hope. Ready for the next chapter, I laughed softly. Always. Together, we stepped forward into the unknown, with courage, with friendship, with the power to protect all worlds. The loaf, once just bread, was now a symbol of all we'd overcome. The key between worlds glowed softly, a beacon in the dark. I knew I was ready for whatever adventures awaited, for the story was far from over. It was only just beginning, and this time I held the pen. The future was mine to write. Sarah's hand found mine, warm and steady. Together, we faced the endless possibilities. The night sky stretched infinitely above, full of stars and dreams. I whispered one last promise. I will protect both worlds. Sarah smiled, her eyes shining with trust. And I'll be by your side. The journey had changed us, bonded us forever. And no matter what came next, we would face it together. The key between worlds was safe in our hands. Our story was eternal, and finally, I was home, truly home.